when these pre-rendered CG cutscenes, when the in-game character models look better. That's really, really weird to me. The in-game character models, at least post-patch anyway, because I haven't played any bit of story mode before the patch, but the in-game character models often look better than the story mode uh, you know, models in their pre-rendered cutscenes. So I just really wish they didn't bother with the story mode. I really do. The story mode really hurt the game. If you think about it, the story mode for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has not done anything positive for it. It has hurt the game. People look at that story mode and they're like, man, this game sucks. I think that money would have been far better spent on improving the visuals. I think that money would have been far better spent on maybe another 4 or 5 more characters. It's just too many places that are lacking in the game, lacking polish, lacking flash, lacking presentation, to where it feels like that story mode money could have been better spent elsewhere. Because you built a story mode that is ugly, and everyone says sucks anyway, so it was just money kind of down the drain. I honestly don't think fighting games really need a story mode. Why do they need a story mode? I just think about how in Alpha 3, when you play Street Fighter Alpha 3, you pick the character. When you pick the character, it shows you like their height, their weight, or whatever, a few of stats about the character, and then it shows in text a bit of info about the character, what their motivation is, what their, something possibly they've done previously to enter in this tournament or whatnot. And then you play through arcade mode, and at the end you defeat Bison, and then you get an ending, which is a series of still frames that explain more story. And that was fine. That was perfectly fine. You learned so much about those characters from those little flavor texts, telling you about the characters. There was no need for a story mode. A bit of info about the character before arcade and the little epilogue afterwards was fine. That was plenty. It did not need a story mode. And I think the same thing is true now, especially in the case of Marvel Infinite. Something similar to that with a short cutscene or something like that. Because I mean, Capcom has done this before. They did this right before. With Street Fighter 4, they did this. When you picked your character, you got a little short cutscene at the beginning. I mean, the cutscene sucked or whatever, but it was something. And then after you beat the game, you got another little short cutscene. They could have did that again with Marvel Infinite. I mean, make them a little longer if you want to or whatever, but the same thing. Arcade mode is more important to a fighting game than story mode. I don't really feel like fighting games need story mode. And I'm going to be frank with you guys. I love the Guilty Gear games, but I do not like their story modes. Here's I got Rev 2 right here. I thoroughly enjoy this game. This is a really fun fighting game. But I have no interest in ever touching the story mode because I don't like how Arc System Works does their story modes. They just have like what do they do? They have like, you watch it. You don't participate at all. You just sit back and watch it. And you can have it on manual, you kind of press X to progress, or you can have it on auto where it does it automatically. That's boring as all hell to me. And BlazBlue does the same thing, and Persona 4 Arena does the same thing, which is why I was not interested in any of the story modes. I like the characters, I want to know more about the characters and what's going on with them, but if that's what I have to endure in order to, gain that info, I'm good. I'm straight. So I will never, ever, ever play through Guilty Gear Xrd, Sign, Revelator, or Rev 2 story mode, because to me the way they do story mode is ass. I will, Street Fighter 5 story mode was just there. That was such a that was such a waste of money. That was such a waste of money. Such a waste of money. And how many extra copies of Street Fighter 5 did they sell after doing that story mode? Probably nothing. Like, really, probably the. And the reason why I can say that so confidently is because at that point, when the story mode DLC came out, pretty much all of the casuals had made up their mind about the game. They weren't going to buy it. The game had no single player content. It had what? Those paper thin, little one or two round fights with different characters where you earn some fight money from that. And the survival mode, which everyone hates. So outside of that, your only option is to play online and get curb stomped. Casuals don't find jumping online and getting curb stomped by people that invest way more time in it than them to be fun. So Street Fighter V was not very casual friendly, and that is why here it is. We're a year and a half later, they still haven't sold the 2 million copies that they projected to sell in the first month and a half of its existence. Comes out February 16th. They were so certain that by March 31st it was going to sell 2 million copies. And I find it absolutely hilarious that they thought that, because in order for it to sell 2 million copies that fast, the casuals would have had to have been involved. They would have had to have went out and bought it. But you made a game devoid of any of the things that casual players like. It just was maddening. It's like, what the hell, Capcom? And they somewhat learned their lesson with Marvel Infinite, but in a lot of ways, not really. Because in Marvel Infinite, even though it has the story mode that they say they want, the gameplay is not casual friendly. Marvel Infinite is, I think Marvel Infinite is probably one of the most beginner unfriendly fighters I've played in a long time. People like to say that they dumbed down Marvel Infinite. No, the hell they didn't. No way. And I think they assumed that it was dumbed down because they went from 3 versus 3 to 2 versus 2. No, that did not dumb the game down. The stones are so significant to how the game is played that they feel like the third character. They really do. They are so integral to how the game is played. Not to mention the tag system really opens up for some crazy stuff. The way the tag system works now is extremely liberating. How you can just call someone in to continue at any given point. This changes the way the game is played just immensely. So I don't know. It's unfortunate that Marvel Infinite is suffering the way that it is. I mean, Capcom has done things in the past to kind of bring this on itself. I mean, I feel like Marvel Infinite is paying the price for Street Fighter V's fuck-ups. I really do. Like, someone was saying how in Japan it sold like 8,000 copies its first week or whatever. Well, take that with a grain of salt. One, their source is Media Create, so that's usually pretty reliable. But it doesn't count digital sales. And, I mean, let's be for real here. Marvel has never been that big of a game in the East. It never has been. Marvel 3, Marvel 2, all of the Marvel games, they have always been far more popular here in the West. And we don't know what the West numbers are. Not at the moment. But it's probably not going to be some big seller. I don't think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is going to... I mean, I'm sure it had a very modest sales projection, but I don't think it's going to meet even their modest sales projection because Capcom did kind of a bad job of marketing it. They showed the game too many times in a very unflattering way. The demo didn't really impress a lot of people. Initially, when they showed gameplay of it, not only was the visual style ugly, but people felt like the graphics were so poor quality that it looked like a mobile game. It just too many things about it. They were showing off their official artwork. Chun-Li looked like an alien. Here we have the first lady of fighting games, and she doesn't even look human. It just was... They just made too many bad choices when it came to marketing the game. And Combo Fiend didn't help. And I'm not hating on Combo Fiend. I love Combo Fiend. But that whole functions comment that he made... when he was trying to explain away why the X-Men weren't there, people wanted the X-Men, they want Magneto, and he was like, oh, well, people just like those characters because of the functions, the 8-way dashes. That was a really dumb thing to say. And, Peter Rosas is not a stupid guy, but he said a really stupid thing in that moment, and that did not help. Because the top level players may only like this character and that character and that character because of the functions. They have an 8-way dash or something like that. But they don't count but for barely 1% of total sales. So that was just a really dumb thing for him to say. Yeah, I agree, dude.